Up on Discord.
Always.
Welcome everyone to VR Jungle, a Havoc podcast. This is episode 4, and we have an awesome person that's going to explain some really cool things about esports in general. Is PeskeyCashew. We'll be calling him Pesky this whole entire time. And then we threw the lovely, sexy, naked avatar, Pickle Ostrich, the co-host over there. We said, let's go ahead and put Pesky right in the hot seat. So how's everyone doing today?
Going great. Hot off a championship weekend for VRML, for Echo, and for the High School Heroes League. So a lot of stuff going on past couple days.
Yeah. So you had VRML. What game? Is this?
Oh, it was Echo Arena.
Echo
So I think
Arena.
they had all 3 finals for Oceania, EU, and North America this past weekend. And same time, I was helping with a high school league that I work with a couple guys on. And we had our Echo finals coincidentally same time-ish. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and wasn't any of that like in person?
No, I don't think any of VRML stuff was in person.
Okay, because I knew they did it before in person, especially that one.
Yeah, so I think the last big in-person event for Echo would have been the NEPA LAN a couple months ago.
Yeah, over in St. Louis.
Yeah, well, I guess that's not true. I think it was Duckman between now and then. I can't remember. There was one in Europe, Duckman LAN, and I know Redshift is planning another one for the summer. So Echo's really coming together with those LAN events getting organized.
Oh yeah, for sure, and they're definitely going to be making more. I talked to Timber, the CEO of NEPA, and he's like, they already have pretty much the go-ahead. They go ahead and develop what they did this year. So, you know, they added like I think another 4 to 6 teams to NEPA for this upcoming season. So we'll see how that goes. And I think after this season, I think they're really going to be ramping up on like selling teams, moving a lot more things around, because a lot of people don't know this. Like the teams that were brought in were actually purchased by the same owners that already exist.
Yeah. Everyone doubled up.
Doubled up. I don't really agree with that way, but you know, they're making their money back.
Right. Yeah. So I'm kind of on NEPA's back end because I do their blog for esports stuff, and yeah, that was. There was a little bit of controversy there with who got more teams, the fact they didn't sell them to new owners.
Oh, yeah.
Some of that, I think, it's logistically makes sense. It's people that are already in the program, and they can always pawn those off. But yeah, there was a little bit of drama there. But yeah, I think it was great for the players because it brought a bunch of people up through the ranks. So they cut the one bench player on each team so that everyone actually got play time. They moved those people down to AAA. But the AAA group got huge because they basically added a whole new suite of teams and then added another roster spot to all those teams. So there's like a huge influx of players there. They're taking more people into their pro development roster group. So it was a great opportunity, like just having those extra leagues, the number of people they could bring in.
Yeah,
that was their big news.
Yeah, and they announced all this in the St. Louis LAN event, and so I been looking into like investing and possibly buying a team, and so a lot of people are like, why weren't you part of that? And I was like, I messaged Timber, I was like, what the hell happened? He's like, no, he goes, we didn't sell anything new, and I'm just like.
Yeah,
I'm like
double down on existing owners who already had a big stake.
And then he told me like how much they were gonna cost now, and I'm just like, all right, I'm just gonna go do something else. Screw, like,
right.
I'll wait till something else happens because I'm like, geez, that's ridiculous. And there's gonna be a lot more drama come season 3 when they start. He said it's basically they're gonna pick their favorites and sell the one they don't want anymore. I'm just like. How's that not going to cause outmost?
Right. Drama? Oh, yeah, because now if you get sold, like your owner's basically saying he doesn't like you.
Exactly.
Right, and like, because I remember you talking to me for a while about like approaching him for season 1 to potentially invest in it because it's one of those things where like it's not going to be an ROI for a long time. It was still super new, so they were selling it at a pretty reasonable cost because you're basically just paying the low end player salaries. You're not actually like buying a franchise per se. To some extent, you're paying some startup costs, but it's more about contributing to the league, being in the ground floor. And yeah, I'm sure now they're trying to flip them for $1 million, jokingly, but
yeah, jokingly.
Yeah.
But in VR
soon
terms,
enough.
In VR terms, I mean VR terms, they are selling them for a pretty penny. That for an investor that that owns an esports organization,
Right.
it ain't worth what I don't know if I can even say the values. I'm not. But
Right.
it was something that it instantly turned me straight off. So.
Yeah. I figured. I
Yeah.
figured that they're trying to ramp up quick, and they're like number one like cost value thing is teams. So
Mhm.
I mean, selling ads is kind of has a ceiling on it, but like the actual value of a franchise is kind of unlimited on the upper end in some sense,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
since there's really nothing like that you can get in VR right now. So it truly is a commodity.
Yeah.
Even if there's not a whole lot of income for that right now, because I feel like they probably get a cut of the marketing value in each sales of their merchandise, but like there's not a huge revenue stream. So I'm a little surprised that even this early on they're going for that. But they are playing some cool things like again, going back to like the expansion of the AAA, not this season, but next season,
Mhm.
they're planning to give the AAA their own like league slot.
Yeah.
So they're breaking out the AAA and the pros to have independent seasons, partially just to have year-round coverage because you really need that if you want to be a successful
Exactly.
league.
Yeah. Yeah.
Their normal season isn't long enough. It's not comparable to like a typical pro sports where you have enough coverage throughout the year that you can keep people engaged. And similar to what you're seeing with all the football teams in traditional sports right now, where you have
Mhm.
the spring league, the fan-controlled football league, USFL. You have all these groups trying to fill that other space in the rest of the year
Yeah.
because they know people want football.
Mhm.
And with Echo, it's the same thing. Like VRML is trying to do tighter seasons with smaller downtime because they know people that community is growing so fast. Those people want stuff to do. They don't want to
Hmm.
have a huge off season, or else it just diminishes. Kind of like we were talking about Larsenauts, where
Yeah.
like you have to keep the momentum going at some point. A lot of leagues do a really bad job at this. I mean,
Yeah,
I
for
think the
sure.
kind of the far end of the spectrum, which is kind of intentional, is what Val does, where they have these really big events, once every 6 months,
Mhm.
and then it just stagnates for 5 months. And
Yeah.
it's like when
Yeah.
when it's going on, it's super cool. It's people are super engaged. It gets a bunch of communities coming together, and then all that work that's built up just kind of vanishes for five
Exactly.
months.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
they're trying not to do that, and they were already kind of seeing it with this off season, where like everyone like wants to do stuff. They want to be in NEPA doing things, even if it's not like for NEPA like on the big stage. Like there's no reason NEPA can't just keep doing things. I think they're trying to capture that, and it's also just good business to have a year-round business model.
Yeah, and those
So
those they're using those AAA teams to kind of wean people out. Like they're like the iffies. Like they're not
right.
quite the pros that will be actually would want to do it. There's a lot of
Hmm.
people that think they're really good in VRML or made it really like high up in the season. Made it to Masters that season, and they see value in a person, but they're not paying AAA people, are they?
I don't think so. I don't think they're getting paid anything unless they get picked to sub. Then they claim the salary of the person they take.
Oh dang.
I think
Mm.
in the game they sub for. So
Yeah. Have you ever
I think
played
that's
Echo
what I
Pickle?
read.
I've played it a little bit. I've had too many little kids grab my junk to want to play that game anymore.
Yeah, I
It
think you
just makes
can.
me
They have
turns
adult
me on.
lobbies and comp lobbies now that are a little bit better on that. But yeah, it's Echo is definitely one of the worst offenders as far as like genuine like children in there just doing shenanigans.
Yeah, but
And I'm
Yeah.
sure Among Us will be similar.
oh yeah, for sure. The thing is
Yeah.
that when I was playing Echo, it's like if you're playing with people, like you're grabbing their legs, their ass, everything, just because you're flinging off each other. You,
Right.
Well, it wasn't that. It was just like the pre-lobbies. These kids would
Yeah.
come up and they go like, "Oh, hi, how are you?" They'll grab your junk and they'll go. It's like, "Oh, get
Yeah.
off me, you
Yeah,
weird
they will
ass
get
kids."
a little aggressive in the lobbies. Or
man,
they'll just
Yeah.
be screaming at you.
Yeah.
It's Echo is kind of the no holds barred playground as much as they try to moderate it.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
It's
like
just
the first time I
they
played
can't
Gorilla
keep up.
Tag.
Yeah.
Gorilla Tag,
So
I loaded in that game one time in my life, and I got to the main area, and I could just hear this like chirping, chirping, chirping. I'm like, is that background noise? No, I get in there, and I'm like in a freaking elementary school playground. I'm just like, what in the world did I just walk
yeah.
myself into? I'm like, I'm getting
Yeah.
I
out of here.
mean, I
It's like
think
some of the
Gorilla
worlds you get
Tag.
into on VR chat, kind of same deal. It's just some places just breed those kind of people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's the weird thing about like
sure.
Larsenauts. I didn't feel like for that scene that was being developed. It was kind of an older scene, don't you
It
think?
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
And that's why.
It definitely seemed to attract like the later teenagers or the people that like, and maybe that's because the games that it built off of were older games.
Older.
It's not like Pop One where they're building off Fortnite where the demographic is the younger kids, and you could definitely see that come through in some of the drama with that, where that crowd just immediately transferred from flat screen gaming to PC when they saw basically build literally Fortnite in VR was the kind of the use case, even if it wasn't stated that way.
Yeah, and in Larsenauts it was more like Overwatch, which Overwatch, a lot of people, even though it's probably one of the most played game like right now, and probably the most streamed game if you really look at the logistics of it. But that game's been out since 2014? It maybe sooner.
Yeah.
It's like
something like that.
It's been for how old it is and how long it's the longevity of it. And now they're finally making an Overwatch 2, and people are just like, don't make that dog crap. Like that thing's not gonna be good at all.
I think Overwatch came out in 2016. I'm double checking right now.
I thought it was real. I thought it was like 2012, 2014.
Because it's been out for like 6 years or 5. Yeah, May 24th, 2016. I used to play a crap ton of Overwatch.
Before. Oh yeah, I see. Me too. I was a Diva main.
Oh,
I played a little bit, but Rocket League was always my fallback from VR stuff.
Yeah, I love Rocket League. Rocket League was fun, and then I was big on Battle Royale, so I played the Call of Duty stuff nonstop before I had VR.
Yeah, I saw one up and coming game that's trying to do some shenanigans. It's kind of the unholy child of the Battle Royales and the hero shooters. Calls it Atlasia. Think basically like Larsenauts style gameplay, the same kind of art style, but it's a 64-person like big expansive map battle royale. Wow. So
in VR,
in VR. So your character
that's gonna be in VR.
In VR, it's super bare bones. It looks terrible right now because they're trying to optimize it before they actually build.
PC VR or Quest. Or Meta, whatever.
I'm trying to remember. I think I downloaded a Quest version. I think they're targeting PCVR first just because they're trying to work. It's easier to build on PCVR and then optimize it. But if they're trying to build a Quest compatible version and keep it compatible with Quest, but I think their main target for the testing is on PC. But yeah, it's an interesting hybrid because it's like Pop One. When you start out, you have scavenging for weapons, for abilities, utility stuff, but you have persistent abilities on your character you can use even without a weapon. And so it's an interesting trade-off where you pick up a weapon and it has limited ammo, and the ammo is tied to the weapon, not like ammo packs. So you pick up the weapon and it's basically like an ability in itself.
That's interesting.
So they're tinkering with some interesting mechanics. I'll be curious how it goes. It's super duper alpha.
I was about to see his alpha.
I wouldn't even recommend you look for it, but earmark Atlasia in your library for this time next year maybe.
Yeah, but that sounds cool.
Oh yeah, I would definitely play that.
To see what comes out of that.
And because battle royales, I'm surprised that they lived as long as they have so far. But I thought they were gonna be maybe a 2-year thing, like a niche, and then they were out of the door. Even you can look at it, the thing with battle royales. Even now, they had to change up Fortnite to where they built that. They have that new game mode where you don't build. It's just straight up running at each other and murking each other. It's basically they're re-engineering Call of Duty, but tailored for them. It's let's just go back to the team death matches. I'm like. That's what it's gonna be, but I want to.
Yeah, and it's interesting seeing them work forwards and back, coming back from Fortnite, which was all the core mechanic was all the building and the creation, and now looping back to just the pure shooting. But I think that's what's kept them alive so long. Not just Fortnite, but all the games is they iterate really well on what's working for them. And so games building new characters that focus around the play style people tend to gravitate to, or they build things that are just disruptive to the metas, and so it forces people to stay interested by forcing them to play outside their comfort zone or play in modes that they normally wouldn't have if they weren't forced into it.
Yeah, and that's the thing with VR. It's just you either find your main thing, but I've seen some of these newer games, they see all these genres and they're just this is VR, let's go ahead and just cram it all together and make one game where you have all these game modes. And I'm just just pick one game mode, release the game with that one niche that that's going to be a solid proof thing, and then go on with it. It's like the people that we talked with yesterday Arena Rivals. Like they have
last
these
week.
last week that what I the other day. Oh, I'm from the Midwest. Like other
You
day
said
means
yesterday.
any day. So, anyways, last Monday, we had them on, and their best game mode right now that's going to be built and probably released with their game is 2v2, 3v3 in their LRS, which is the last
Rival
rival
standing.
standing. But then they have other game modes they want to throw in, but they're like, why release this with the game when, one, it's probably not even ready to be seen, and we already have approval from our community to play this. And I'm just like, yeah, go ahead. Like, I think that's fun enough. Like, and you don't want to like completely shoot every single bullet, burst fire all your stuff in one go. And I think that's what a lot of games, they're like, hey, here it is. We're not going to do an update now for about a year or two. And I think that's what happened with Larcenauts is that they kind of did way too many things up front, didn't explain what they were doing. I know they had a roadmap at one point, but I don't even think they fully covered all their roadmap stuff. And then
I think they did.
died.
Yeah, they covered their roadmap, but part of the issue was that a lot of their roadmap was things that people expected to either be in launch or be after they polished the core game. And so there were things that lingered, like really basic balancing issues, or like things that were close to being exploits because the devs didn't intend for them to be used a certain way. Like the Salter's piezo nade, like circle, where you grenade someone, you get your grenade back if you kill one person, and you just keep doing that over and over. Stuff that, like, it was intentional mechanics, but the devs hadn't gotten to the point in playtesting where they realized that sort of stuff would happen. And that the same thing happened back in like 2019 when I was playing Space Junkies competitively. There were just players always find better ways to break games. Like,
of course,
that's just how it goes.
Definitely.
And so, like, little things that you don't think about, it's like there were rotating spawns in that game. But if you have two people sit on 2 of the 3 spawns, you can force someone to spawn in a corner and just have high ground on them the whole game. And just stuff like that, where it's like it's really hard to fix later because it's like a fundamental core design of the game. And I think that's what kind of pinned Larcenauts, was they hedged their bets on people, not caring about like locomotion types and not caring about like how the grapples worked or certain abilities. And when people did care, they had to go back and rework like fundamental stuff. But because they had already committed to doing all these big updates, they couldn't really work it in. And so stuff lingered.
But here's the thing, though. The reason why that's happening is that these people, and it's just not Larcenauts. I'm just not trying to bash on them. But, like, so another game, for instance, like Pavlov, right? I don't think it's anything against the creators of the devs, but, you talk to them, or you talk to any of the higher up devs that have the directional pull to push the game to go where it needs to go. If you bring up anything that is esports or competitive play, they don't care. They don't like they don't want that scene in their game. And I go, but that is what's gonna make or break your game, is this competitive scene. Like, no one, unless it's a single player game where you go and do missions by yourself, does no one not care about competitiveness. Like, we're competitive,
right?
And
there's definitely a spectrum there, where, like, I think that's kind of where Larcenauts failed. I think is that they catered exclusively to people that wanted to jump in and quick play. And at some point there was a huge skill divide, even in the first like 2-3 weeks. And like, if you were really good at the game, you could not go in and enjoy a match. Because you either pub stomped people, or you got against a team that had no forced matchmaking, and that team would just stay together for however many matches they could and just steamroll everybody. And this, again, going back to Space Junkies, just because that was something I was super familiar with, we had the same issue where there was no forced matchmaking. Like, if you got on a team that you were really happy with, and the other team left, it would bring 3 new random people into your lobby, and you could just roll through people for hours on end, and they ended up just pushing people out of the game because there were essentially a limited number of lobbies. Like, if you had 3 people in 3 lobbies, it would only fill those. Like, you couldn't go create a new one. And so you'd get in this loop of either you get stuck playing people are going to just beat your ass, or you have to come back and try to like find your own teammates to go fight against them somewhat fairly.
Exactly.
And then you spread to where you get these super competitive players, and there's either nothing that caters to them, or they get ousted from matchmaking because their MMR is so high they can't find a match. And it's hard to find a middle ground because like both groups are really fickle. Like, Larcenauts, for me, I was super hyped about it for like a month, And then when I realized that they had no emphasis on competitive play and that there were very fundamental things that they admitted they weren't going to be able to fix for a while, I just left until they fixed a lot of it.
Yeah.
And by the time I came back, there weren't enough people still interested in the game to really keep it interesting.
Yeah.
And I think that's not just a them issue. It's a pretty general thing where you have to cater to both ends.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people have the mindset that it's catering to one side is prohibitive, but like allowing private lobbies, like when people are worried about splitting their user base between that kind of thing, like the people that want the private lobbies are the people that you want to not be in the general player pool anyway.
Right.
And so there's that way of thinking about it, that like splitting your player base is only a bad thing if you're trying to get those people to play together. And I think it happens more often than not where you mush together the people that are like brand new. It's like if you put a level 50 Echo player, like if you had 0 skill-based matchmaking, a majority of people playing Echo would just get pooped on the first day they show up, because there's so many people, like the vast majority of people playing the game now are veterans.
Yeah.
Are people that are really good. Like if you jump into a lobby, most of the people you're going to run into are going to be pretty good. Just because that's the people that have stuck with the game this long. And the same thing applies to a bunch of games where, like, even just a week or two in, like 2 weeks into a new game, you're gonna have people that are like already extremely talented.
Yeah.
Like look at like Knock recently. You had people that 2 weeks into Knock, you had people that had played in the beta test and had never lost a game to anyone.
Wow.
And you'd get in and like you just random roll against those people because they were the only people on when it first came out. And then you eventually spread those people out enough that with any good skill-based matchmaking, like, those people don't play against randoms. But there's still some issue with, like, you have to balance, I want to give those people a match if they're waiting, but I don't want to give them a match that no one in the lobby is going to enjoy.
Yeah,
so it's hard to not burn out one into the other.
Knock was pretty bad for like the first few days for sure, and like also with Larcenauts too. It was like the slates and like everything just making it pay to win. So, but not actually, you can't actually pay for it.
Right. It was based on time.
I think that was one of like the saddest things about Larcenauts, was that the game had the customization and the unlock stuff that I thought would have been really good, but because it was all RNG based, it made it like the exact opposite. It turned so many people off from the game, especially once you got into things like where you could do like the social media stuff to win like level 5 slates, where it was like something that may actually like realistically be unachievable. Like you have such a low % chance of getting that legendary slate to level 5, even with 1,000 hours. That was like I forgot the dude's name that had been playing like 8 hours a day for the first like month.
I think I could probably
there was
think of
Dr. Skills, but that was not the first one. That was way
it wasn't
later.
Skills. Yeah, it was somebody else. But like they had played, we figured out like it came out to something like 6 to 8 hours a day every single day since the game came out, and they had like a single slate at level 3. And I was like, you're telling me like a 500-hour commitment, and I can't even upgrade one character in one way that I want.
Yeah.
And that was like so disappointing, because the things that keep people in the games are having something to play for. Like I know Mimixies was big on having some kind of achievement-based award where like, give me a golden gun skin or a golden character skin when I get 1,000 wins with this character, like something that's a long-term achievement goal, which again isn't something that's going to affect most people, but it gives the people that are going to be committed something to play for. And having nothing to play for, like he burnt out immediately, because in the first 3 weeks, he got so good with Evander that he could beat anyone else in the game in a 1v1.
Right.
And he just had no reason to play anymore. And there was nothing for him to play for. He stopped enjoying the matches because there was no way to get a good match intentionally. You had to just roll into it. And at some point, if you got on a good team, you would just steamroll people, and then no one would have fun. You'd win in 2 minutes. The other team would all just leave, and you'd play bots.
Yeah, for sure.
Beatamon chimed in the chat and said, "Was it Dima?"
No, it wasn't Dima either. There was.
Oh man.
He was a Bosun main, which everyone thought was hilarious. That he had like. Yes, it was Knockman.
Yeah.
Yeah, because everyone thought it was hilarious because like Bosun was generally considered early on as like one of the worst characters because of just the way the skills worked until they changed her up. But it was just funny because he had like 500 hours on this character, and everyone kept beating him because it was just the way the character was designed. It wasn't great for 1v1. It was great as like a an auxiliary character that could support, but because at that point of the game you weren't really playing any team-based stuff, you were just playing 1v1s,
Yeah.
and so you go up against
Hmm.
anybody, and no matter how many hours you had, your skills weren't suited for dueling,
Right.
which was
I mean,
funny.
I think with Bosun, there was a lot of unseen potential with her too early
Yeah.
on. Like she's like people didn't realize. Like one thing I did was I'd literally just dual wield like the guns and shoot
Hmm.
them. And since she's like her character model is so small, it almost makes the spray insignificant at a certain range. So you could just
Yeah.
shred up close with
Right.
your.
Yeah, because like she doesn't have any real knockback difference versus two-handing the little laser
Yeah,
rifle.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
exactly.
it still made me mad that the laser rifle had like a 30-degree spread. It's like, come on, it's a laser.
Right. I would like to say though that I did wreck people with Kalima, so
Oh yeah, Kalima was a monster, especially early on before they fixed the double shot mechanic that I guess was sort of but not really intentional.
What do
It
you
was
mean
like
the
it
double shot?
so with Kalima with the shotgun, if you charged up the overcharge and then
Hmm.
shot it and let go, you could immediately shoot another shot. It overrode the cooldown between shots,
Oh.
and so you could one hit a lot of characters if you got up close. Not one hit, but you could combo them
Right.
essentially instantly.
yeah.
Because you just two tap really quick, and it was basically like a semi-auto shotgun.
Well, they nerfed the
Uh,
crap at her. They nerfed her twice back to back to
right,
calm her
because they
down.
nerfed her because the pistols. I think the
Yeah,
pistol nerf
The
SMG.
was
SMG was shooting at too high of a rate with
yeah
too much damage.
right, and that one I think was merited because you could
I
swap
think
from
so
that
too.
directly to the fire, and then the DPS really was too high for having lasers. Like you had auto aim basically, and then you literally had auto aim where
You
you like
just
if you
dash and it would
if you
just.
dash it
Yeah.
snaps you to someone, which was super weird. Um, and so I think that made her more of like a beginner level like handholdy character. And that was the other
Yeah.
thing is like having the characters locked from startup and having to unlock them like oh it hurts so much
Yeah,
because
that
everyone
should never
comes in
have
and
been
plays
happen.
Kalima,
Hmm.
and it's like day one was hilarious. Like it was great day one because everyone was just having
Right.
shenanigans where everyone just has pistols and
And then
everyone's just bursting
yeah,
each other to death.
it,
And then a week later, like if you came in late, you didn't have any of the other characters, and you just have like a VOD just walk up and just murk you.
well, it pissed me off because there'd be one people that has got the RNG god roll, and we'd get VOD right off the bat, and he
Yeah.
would
Oh
be walking
yeah.
around just punching all these Kalimas like it's nothing. And it's just
Yeah.
like, geez, because at that time
Yeah.
no one knew to shoot the damn Mohawk because no one
Right.
because like the one thing that they missed is that they had no damage. Like I like seeing damage like flinging off.
Right.
So
There
I
was
know
no damage numbers. Yeah.
Oh my,
exactly.
there were no numbers,
No
period.
Right.
numbers.
And
Not even
Period.
so
cooldowns,
there was no
nothing.
way to like theory craft or figure out
No.
how stuff actually worked. And
Right.
they
Oh,
were
the
really
lack of
hesitant to release
statistics
numbers.
like hurt my. I
Yeah.
wanted to know how many people I was killing. I wanted to know my win ratio. I wanted to know
Right.
so much that it was. I asked them all the time, and they're just like, "You have your one score. Your notoriety." I go, "That means nothing to me." I go, "That
Right.
notoriety
Right.
means absolutely
Yeah.
nothing
Well,
to me."
it's amazing how much like one misplaced or misguided game decision can affect so much. Like notoriety, when it first came out, like it was 100% well intentioned. It was supposed to reward good players for succeeding, but it
Hmm.
inherently made playing against your own teammates a competition. You were fighting your own team
Exactly.
for score, and
Exactly.
so a lot of the time it was actually better to lose than win under certain situations where like
Hmm.
if you were like pushing a cart it
True.
was better to stall your own team to get points if you wanted to raise your
Exactly.
personal score
Yep.
because there was no penalty for losing, there was no ranked mode, so like
Hmm.
winning the game actually didn't matter except for
No,
credits,
when we
which
first
Yeah.
started, you lose notoriety on your character. And so before every match, if I knew that
yeah
we were losing, I would switch characters to a character I gave no shit
Oh,
about.
that's true
yeah
too.
oh yeah you could also just leave the game and it wouldn't count.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
but
And
if you
there
did that you
was.
wouldn't get credits for it. But yeah, it was just like that mechanic is like a perfect example of something that was well intentioned and like provided a decent high scoreboard if it worked right.
Hmm.
But the
Right.
fact that it made you it didn't reward you for your own performance, it rewarded you for getting a certain share of your team's points,
Exactly.
Right.
uh,
And also
which made it
exploiting too.
self-defeating.
Like,
Yeah.
and like doing unfun things like spawn camping was pretty heavily incentivized with explosive
Right.
damage through the barriers, and
Hmm.
like it's
Yeah,
just.
but there's stuff like that in every game to some
For
extent.
sure. Oh yeah.
Well,
And it's
sure.
just recognizing like the real impacts. Like what one that's been really controversial the past week or two, for especially people that were in the beta, was for Ultimex. they've made it public now that the entire movement system is teleport grid based.
Oh, they
Mhm.
And
because I did it too, and I didn't know how much we could talk about this.
so that one I'm only going to talk about what is in the trailer, what you can go and see for yourself publicly. And yeah, it's just like I understand why they did it. They
Let me
almost
just
certainly
say
did it.
I hate it.
Yeah, they almost certainly did because it's an accessibility thing. Like, and they've talked about this that they wanted to make it accessible, but it's again what we talked about earlier, where you're catering to one, you're trying to cater to one side of the player base, and it ends up being at the expense of the other. Like
Yeah.
in doing that, you lose the appeal of the fast-paced movement
Mm-hmm.
because if you're teleporting around, it's really quick. But then if you're stuck in a spot, it's not dynamic anymore. You jump to somewhere, and if you're going to do something, you do it and wait in that spot. There's no dynamic to it. And so it's weird that they advertise it as this super fast, precise mech game, but you're in these mechs that don't really feel like traditional big clunky mechs. They're
Mm-hmm.
more like like an Iron Man like cosmetic. You have
And you
robot
don't even
arms,
feel it. You don't even feel that you're doing that though. You're just
right?
it literally it feels like you're a pawn on a chessboard. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, and so I really hope they improve it. But yeah, that along with some other design decisions that aren't public, just
Yeah.
are things that they've tried to make it really accessible, and in making a middle ground, they've actually removed options that I think would help, just letting
Yeah.
people choose how they want to navigate the space and keep it even. Um, and I think they can certainly still do that. I think the amount of feedback they got on that, there's going to be some changes.
Yeah.
But seeing like the reaction, even from people who didn't touch the beta, like why is it on a grid? Like why are we playing Rocket League where I can't get off the ground?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so there's definitely going to be some rethinking of that and some retooling. But that one, um, and then yeah, and things that are even more subtle, like other games like Shifted, um, which is trying to be the next big built for esports FPS game, which I guess Shifted Veil. I'm trying to think.
Oh,
Veil,
Veil.
Veil,
Is it Veil? Yeah,
yeah,
it
It's
Veil.
used to be
definitely
Shifted.
Veil. I was
Yeah,
like,
Yeah,
Veil.
what's shifted?
Shifted. I forgot. Yeah, Shifted was the alpha name. Um,
Mm,
it's been a while since I've played with Veil. Um,
apparently.
yeah, right. It's been what 6 months since I was deep in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Veil, like it's again perception thing for like me. Their like signature mode is that point capture mode. I forgot what it's
It's like
called.
bomb. Is
Yeah,
it bomb or
no, it's
or is it
the
capture
relic
point?
one, the capture point one, where it's like they're upselling this capture mode.
It's like
But if you
domination.
yeah, but if you look at it, it's essentially just a traditional S&D mode, um, which is cool that they've reskinned it. But I think like leaning so hard into that is a little misplaced. I think it's cool. It's a different concept. It fits in with the lore really well. Um, but but leaning into that as like your chief innovation, I think I won't say it's disingenuous, but it's I don't think they realized how many similarities they have, and they're going to run into the same kind of gameplay.
Yeah.
Um, which yeah, it's cool that they found a way to fit that into their lore, which is something that isn't done enough.
Mhm.
That there is a lot of like low effort reskinning. I think they've actually put a good amount of effort into making that mechanic seem like it fits in the world, fits in the realm, is cool. But it's stuff like that where you're kind of unintentionally reverting back to mechanics that already exist,
Yeah.
uh, and building gameplay that looks interesting but may not last because the flow is really the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're just
And
reinventing the wheel, is what you're trying to say.
right, yeah, and I think that you can go both ways on that. Ultimax is taking a step backwards. They're trying to be really accessible, but in doing that, they've reverted to a mechanic that even if it's well done, people look at as something that's really old and dated, and it feels that way because of the other mechanics around. Like you can have a teleport-based game that's really good, but you have to build the other mechanics in a way that you don't hinder the skill ceiling, that you allow people the flexibility and the rest of the gameplay that complements it, or have the option to get around that.
Yeah,
But I
I
think those are
think
the
a
two different
cool
sides of that.
I think a cool like kind of example of something that takes advantage of teleporting would be like hyperdash.
I was about to say that. I was like, what game
Because
am I thinking
you
of?
do
Like,
the hops around and that's pretty cool. It's not just like you can use your stick movement too, but
no, you can
hyperdash
Yeah,
is
utilize it
definitely
all
cool
to the
for
full
that.
maximum. Like when I first saw the trailer for Hyperdash, I didn't want to play it because I only saw them hopping around. I'm like, oh, I'm not playing a hop based game. I have to free
Hmm.
roam, walk around. And then someone's like, no, you're getting like the wrong idea. They're like, just try it out. So I was like, whatever. I tried it out. I'm like, oh, you can freaking walk in this game. No one told me I could walk.
Yeah, well, in Hyperdash, like that's what I mean by like complementary mechanics. There's so many
Right.
different ways you can use locomotion in that game. You teleport, you can teleport on the rails, and then you have an environment that's static, but
Hmm.
like the player is still dynamic, even though they're
Mm-hmm.
not doing any movement actions. Like that was a brilliant addition to their movement stuff, um,
Definitely.
because it makes the game dynamic without any user input,
Yeah.
which is something that's really rare. Got
And you
all
get
sorts of
that
cat hair
kind
on
of
myself
like
now.
Halo feeling where you don't get the gun. You have to know exactly where the gun is loading at. You know
Yeah.
that Halo-ish. Like if you know where your favorite shotgun is at, you better get there really quick before someone else finds it. And I really like that feeling that no matter the situation you're going into, unless you know where exactly the first load-in gun is, and that's what you like, every one-on-one fight is like completely dynamically different. You're not going to get the
Mhm.
same pair up with two top players in the world, you know.
Hmm. Oh.
I don't know
Pesky.
what happened there. Lost my
Ah, there
train of
you are.
thought.
So, but you know what I mean. It's like unlike like a first person shooter like contractors or Larcenauts. If you're playing with your favorite character and someone else is playing with their favorite character or favorite weapon, it's always going to be the same one on
Yeah.
one, constantly. And that's what I like when they throw in the different stuff like that. It's like,
Mhm.
but not. I think the only game that has done that is what Halo. Is there another game that did that?
Yeah.
There's that other
Uh,
one.
Mm.
That other one that's really. I don't know why it didn't blow up. It was such a good game. I really enjoyed it. It was kind of cartoonish. It came out the same time that Gun Raiders came out. It's you can find it on SideQuest.
okay.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know.
You guys talk for a second while I find this thing. It's gonna once I say, I think a lot of people are
It's
gonna.
gonna bug you until you find it.
Oh, it
Yeah.
will 100% because it was an awesome game. They literally had the best AI mechanics in any game I've ever seen.
Oh, are you talking grapple
Yes,
tournament?
Grapple Tournament. Thank you. I now have to look
Yeah.
it up. That game was amazing, and I freaking loved it. And like, I literally
Right.
like,
Well, it was Unreal Tournament VR. It was like a
Yeah.
true like VR, really good VR port
mm-hmm,
of what Unreal Tournament was going for. They had a lot of the same
Hmm.
weapon mechanics, but with added VR stuff. The grappling was fantastic. Yeah,
Hmm.
that tournament that game was great. I think it was just a lack of like reach. Like they didn't get publicity at the right time for it to sustain the people that were already in it to
mm-hmm.
keep them through. Same way Larcenauts had an issue with where like they burned their Steam user base on launch because you couldn't play it on Steam basically unless you had an Oculus. And if you had an Oculus device, you played it on Oculus.
Yeah.
Um, and so they kind of burned the Steam people who were hesitant to come back, and then some of the core updates like free locomotion and those kind of things turned people off at the beginning. And so you had all these people coming back staggered as new updates came in or things that they were hoping for came in, and they were basically just refreshing the people they were losing. And then when they
Yeah.
stopped doing big content updates after like 4 or 5 months, it was just a really quick decline. I mean, we only had what like 5 teams for the tournament that we did.
Oh, really?
Oh. Oh yeah, you're talking Larcenauts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
Oh.
only well we had. Let's see. Yeah, I think we had five, and it kind of fluctuated on the number
Mm.
of teams because some got like absorbed and some got
Yeah, because I think it was similar with Grapple Tournament where
but
they had a handful of like alpha events and launch events. Like they actually had pretty good participation, um, but they struggled to reach new people after that, and so they weren't able to kind of refresh their old players. I don't know how they're doing now. I still
Yeah.
see people post about it occasionally, but I don't imagine it's super populated.
Which I don't know why it's not because whoever designed their AI like do some more work in other games. Like
Right.
holy cow!
Oh
Like
yeah.
I felt like I was playing at like the highest level I could possibly play in that game, trying to beat these AI characters. I'm just like,
Yeah.
unlike certain ones, you can go in and they're the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life. They just
Yeah.
they look
Like
at
another game we've been talking about a lot
yeah,
tonight.
that's
Yeah,
why
you know.
I didn't want to say it because
Don't
I'm
want to
like,
rag on them
people are gonna
again.
ragging on it right now. Like those
Oh
things,
god, the number of
mindless.
times they got stuck in a corner and you just drop a nade on them and move on.
Yeah, yeah. But the thing
So
is that the Vander though, whoever designed the mechanic to where he can like literally see blindly shoot you from from like this, he'll headshot
Yeah,
you. That blew my mind all the time. Evander computer never
Oh,
missed,
yeah.
never missed.
Evander and Salter's bots were
I
the
think
nightmares.
I
Yes.
think the worst for me were the Bosons and the Kalimas,
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
I
those
think
were
I
the
just
biggest.
it's all of them had like pinpoint aim, but
right,
it was
but they were
hard to tell like
stupid.
when they would snap to you. Like as
That
soon as they
too.
snapped you, you were dead.
Oh yeah.
But if you could convince them to like not turn around fast
Hey,
enough, especially with
look
like
that way.
Evanders, yeah, like poke him, go around a corner, and then he comes looking for you. You shoot him in the back.
But
But yeah, the Evanders just turned around with overcharge, like headshot.
yeah. But the funny thing
Yeah,
is that if you say you won the die, you're like, I just need to hurry up and die because the game's about over. I don't got my notoriety. And you're going up
Yeah,
to them, and that for some damn reason, if you just go up to them, you
they
are
yeah they won't
invisible.
fight you. Like you
But
can't
then
get yourself killed.
no, can't get yourself
yeah.
killed until you like literally get them to almost this much health, and they're like, okay, I guess I might shoot you a couple times. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my god, just murder me. Like so stressful. But what? So what do you think within the next like let's say 2 to 3 years is gonna be the leading esports game? You think it's gonna still be like knock? You think it's gonna be you think it might be a first person shooter like Contractors that's coming? I think Contractors making a huge rise, or like Echo
Yeah.
VR.
I think it's going to stay Echo. I think
Yeah,
it's
me too.
it's the fact that it's free to play. It is a true VR sport in every sense. The fact they've added a battle pass, they've built everything around Echo to make it succeed, and they've nurtured it long enough that it's really smooth. People are playing it, and that the core gameplay is so easy to pick up and stay with that I think Echo is not going to go away the next 2, 3 years. It may get
Yeah.
superseded by something that's more innovative, that's similarly physical,
Mm-hmm.
or they may build a sequel to it that's something else crazy. That's a similar sport world. But I think Echo is going to continue to dominate because it has so much support behind it. And like, I don't know what VRML is up to now, but at last I checked, they had like 4 or 5 thousand players registered.
They have a
Um,
lot.
that yeah, it's that their growth has been explosive. People keep picking it up. It's one of the first thing that Meta pushes on you when you download the headset is like, hey, look
Yep.
at Echo. It's on the box. It's in the game. It's free. We have a battle pass, which gets all the kids excited.
Yep.
We have all these
This is
cool
my first game I
skins.
played.
Right.
Not idea for the first time ever being in VR.
Right, yeah, and so it's pushed on people as like the starter game, and then goes from there, and it's something that's just genuinely easy and fun to play, and it's physical, and it's what I hope more VR games would be like. Um, Not necessarily in the type of gameplay, but just the way that it presents itself. It has a battle pass, it gives it longevity.
Mm-hmm.
It has really physical mechanics. It's something
Right.
that is unique to VR. It's not cloning a real life sport. It's taking things, it's borrowing from real life sports, but it's creating something very much all its own that you could only do in VR.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's going away. I think they may iterate on that and build something that supersedes Echo, but I think
Mhm.
like Echo and whatever comes from that is going to be a long term thing. As far as which competitive game's gonna be the next thing, aside from that, I mean, yeah, Contractors is blowing up. They're doing a similar thing. They're doing things that are uniquely VR and unique to a gun game. Adding
Mm-hmm.
in like the ninja stuff,
Yeah.
um, where they're doing things that are purely for the sake of player enjoyment at sometimes the cost of, you know, not, I won't say game quality, but consistency. But they're not removing the ability to take the game seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the two factions, but the same way we talked about earlier, that they're able to live together. You have the people that want to take it really seriously in
Exactly.
their
Yep.
own
Yep.
space, enjoying it, and they don't have to be brought down by what Quick Play's doing.
Mhm.
And so that's good for them. And then you have both people able to enjoy it. And same thing with Echo. You can get into these competitive lobbies where you are only going to have serious competitive matches. And building that structure, I think, is the most important part of any game that wants to try to be competitive. There's so much cat hair in my room. Holy crap!
That's what you get for picking up your cat before we start the stream.
Right, I know. Yeah, he jumped on my lap and now it's all over me.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I think Echo's going to stay. I think Contractors is making a good bid to take over a lot of that space. I know there's been a lot of drama in Onward lately, and Pavlov has always been shenanigans. Um, I think that Vale is making waves, but I
Definitely, yeah.
think that hype
I haven't
train
tried it
is
yet.
mostly hype. I know a lot of people that don't like how the game plays. I know a lot of people that do. I think people are torn on it. I think the whole thing with NFTs and this huge multi-million
Yeah.
dollar crowdfunding, I think they're gonna do really well, but I think that the level of hype they're getting is unprecedented, and they're not delivering something that is so innovative right
Mm-hmm.
now that it deserves that level of hype. I
That's
think
why I
it's
haven't
they
played it
built
yet.
right, they built a really cool community, and I'd be happy to support them whatever they're doing, but I do think it's overhyped in the same way that like Larcenauts was, because it's
Mm-hmm.
they're portraying themselves as something that is like hugely innovative, and Larcenauts was, but you can be innovative and still fall short in trying to accomplish something, like we talked about with Ultimex. Like
Yep.
if Ultimex came out and you felt like you were in an Iron Man suit flying around the arena throwing your fists, and it was like you actually had to punch to throw your arms, or there was something like really physically engaging about it, I would be all over it.
Yeah,
And that's what
exactly.
I was saying with Echo. Like if you could give me Ultimex with the same level of presence and physicality of Echo,
Or
that
like
would
or like
yeah,
vertical
that would be
shift.
my number one. Yeah,
Like if
that
you could
would be
play
like my
vertical
number one
shift.
for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I still need to play vertical shift. I've,
You
I've
need to.
been
You'll
talking to those
understand
guys
what I mean.
forever.
Like if you play
Yeah,
vertical shift and then you take Ultimech and then you mix that together, like in what you just visually put out there, that's what it
right.
would be.
Yeah. So and yeah, and there's and to get there is hard, and to understand, like, to make that vision and come together and build those kind of mechanics, like there are some very serious technical challenges to get there, but Echo has proven that if you do it right, like you can reap the rewards forever.
Mm-hmm.
Like because that game has been out since what, 2016, 17,
I
and
don't
there's
think
still
it's that early, but I'll
was
check. I'll
I'm pretty
check.
sure it
yeah,
was like one of the very first actual
because
My
it
games
guess
on
was
Oculus.
18,
well, it
personally.
was well before 18, because Space Junkies was in series 3 of the VR Challenger League. They had 2 seasons before, so it had to be early
2017
2017.
of July,
Yeah.
or
Okay. Yeah.
July 20th,
Yeah. So
2017.
mid 2017. But yeah,
Yeah,
and so we're talking. It's been out 5 years now,
Mm-hmm.
and there's still not another game that has that level of presence and mechanics. I don't think. I think there are some. There's some that get
I
close, like
think
Grapple Tournament.
There's a
I think
rec
Um,
Nock's
room
close
version.
too, because Nock is very much
yeah.
physical and blast on
You
too.
hear
Yeah.
what I said? There's a rec room version that's pretty solid.
Hmm. Yeah.
All joke.
I mean, genuinely though, there's a lot of cool creations in apps like Rec Room that allows you to build your own worlds. I expect Horizon Worlds is going to see some interesting stuff. I think they're still really short on the creator user base that are building games. A lot of people building like spaces, environments, but I think they're still like a little bit handicapped on how many games they can build in there. Certainly nothing like Echo, where you have to have really high fidelity stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
I
but yeah,
mean, also
things like
they've
Knock
taken.
starting to come around, where it's you're getting games that are more leaning really hard into the simple, engaging physical VR mechanics again, like Echo did, where Knock is all about being really simply physical. And in the same way,
With
like
one shoulder.
with one shoulder, basically get plumber's arm.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and on the flip side, like you get some games that are finally getting to that with the sim stuff too. Like Rezel is one that I've been hyping up lately because they're doing this huge tournament series. Like
Yeah.
it's $5,000 a month plus like probably another $500 in prizes, and like no one's playing it just because it's another one of those that, like, didn't get a lot of marketing because they're not concerned about reaching a bunch of people right now. They're just trying to build a good, worthwhile experience, and then they're going to go talk to people. And so the
Mm-hmm.
money is more just to invite people to come by and see it. Um, but yeah, but it's like if you want to do competitive stuff, like $5,000 a month is crazy for VR. The only other group that does that is Omniverse, which you have to go to a physical location,
Yeah.
to an arcade, and pay to go play with a team, and it's a 4-person thing. So
Yeah,
it's the same prize size, but you have to split it 4 ways. You have to pay an entry fee. Like the fact that you can just go around and just get good at headers and football and do actual physical sports stuff, which may or may not help you in real life. But it's a training sim first and foremost.
$5,000's
But
$5,000 though.
right, yeah, like I won $2,500 last month just from probably putting in 15, 20 hours in a sports sim, and it was fun. It was physical. I enjoyed substituting that for any cardio I would have done.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, it made me
and
sweat. It was a good game.
oh yeah, I play a couple hours a night trying to top Mimi's score, but this month is brutal. They ramped the difficulty of this month's challenges way up, so you really have to be
I
good.
just can't throw the damn football. I can do everything else just fine. It's the freaking
Right.
football.
Yeah, and I think it's weird because they talked about how they had to change the football mechanics because it was even less forgiving before, and they kept getting a lot of bad reviews. And I think it really does train you on the form, but the fact that you don't actually have a football in your hand, it's so hard to get that release point right that it feels wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like like when you let a football go, you lose that force feedback, and so it's a lot more natural. And with the other things like the basketball game and the headers, like you're all there, like it's your body putting into it. But without the actual football in your hand, it's a lot easier to put yourself in a weird spot.
Yeah, for sure. I just felt like you had to, in order to throw a spiral, you had to flick your joystick, and I
Right.
just felt like with the how it's like the very last game mode you do, you're like all
Yeah.
hyped up, you got a good score, so the pressure's on, and then like you're trying to flick the joystick. I just feel like I'm gonna have to have a new controller if I keep playing this game. It's like just flicking it and flicking. I'm just like that's
Yeah.
gotta be
So
breaking my
So
controller.
what a couple of us figured out is the spirals don't really do a whole lot on the short field ones, and so we figured out for specifically for that level, it doesn't work for the one this month, but for that one, you could take like a shot putting motion where you just kind of stand sideways and just like
Oh, just
force your hand forward, and you just push the ball like in a laser beam forward.
That's funny.
But as soon as you get past like 15 yards, it starts actually giving you aim assist on the spirals, and it starts mattering, especially when the portals when they move towards and away from you. The aim assist is actually corrective on that too. And so if you don't throw a spiral, it doesn't give you any aim assist on the forward movement, and so it'll typically drop short or go far.
Hmm.
And so you can't really do it this month, but last month, yeah, you like push it forward and do this like laser motion.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
hmm
and they're working on some ways to get around that. There's some shenanigans like you can crouch down when there's a floor panel light on like reaction mode, where like it puts your buttons lower, so you have the floor one right by you. Um, okay, cat, yeah, go ahead and go out. He's so needy tonight.
hmm
Yeah. He's like,
But
give me
yeah,
attention. Come on.
So yeah, one thing I'm curious about for you, Pesky, is what's your favorite VR esport? We know you play
You
all
play
these
a lot.
different games. What's
yeah.
really got you excited these
Oh,
days?
these days it's hard. These days I think it's Rezzle is my current go-to, partially because it's the big prize pool, but also
Yeah.
because the people that I've been competing with for a long time, like the Mixies, are all doing that on a regular basis. It's the first thing we've had in a long, long time where there is consistent gameplay in the same title for a lot of the same players. That's like a repeated competition.
Hmm.
hmm
For things like if you're not in VRML, you're not in a supported title there, or you're not in VR Esports League, which has a lot of overlap with VRML. If you're not in a title that has an established league, it's really rare to have any kind of repeat gameplay. Like Val will do big tournaments occasionally, but it depends on how those devs are feeling. They don't do leagues; they do one-off tournaments. Even if it's formatted like a league, it's a 1 month event,
Yeah.
hmm
and then it's gone, and then it probably won't come back. They typically do one-offs because it's promoting some stage of the game's life or some development, or a release. And so having something that's committed to doing a long-term competition is really cool. Like I've been doing Omniverse at an arcade near my
hmm
house, with four of my work buddies and some other people I knew from VR that just lived around Dallas, and that was cool doing that like as a regular thing, competing with people that we kind of met remotely through Discord or video calls, wherever we met some of the other players from around the US, and having that be a persistent thing is really cool. And that's what you get with VRML, where you get to know this community and build with that. And that's the same thing with Echo, even outside of like the formal leagues.
hmm
But I think that's what's got me excited about that one in particular, is it's gathering people that haven't had a central game to play. Partially around the prize money, it's the big draw for most of the cash grabby people like me
Right.
and the Mixies. We love to chase whatever the new big game is, especially if there's money behind it.
Definitely.
Um,
You would think other people would pick up on just being like always, like always going like weekly or monthly. Like these tournaments, like you got to think like even NEPA, like before this upcoming season, I think their season one was what 6 months ago.
yeah,
Besides their lane event, but that lane event was really for the people that were really into going to actually
right.
to an event or they had to travel. But yeah, it'd be nice to see something like the game you're playing with the Rezzle, like doing
Mm.
something more in game, like an incentive. But like the thing is for Rezzle to do that, how are they getting their funding to even consecutively? Like, how are they doing that every week or every month? They're doing it,
So yeah, so that one's actually, I think it's funded by their professional project. So their original Resol Index program is a professional analytics and sports training app for professional. It started as professional soccer players. So they work with like Manchester United,
Okay.
FC Barcelona, and so they have a very large professional revenue stream feeding that. and they're trying to bring that tech into the consumer space, both for training at elementary, high school, all the way through levels, like give people access to a professional level training regimen,
Hmm.
either as consumers or educational, um, and to connect those people in ways with the professional athletes. Like one
Mm-hmm.
thing that Andy, the CEO of the company, was talking to me about, he was saying how he wants to have this vision of connecting everyone on the same platform, where like you can go out and play the same game mode that some professional athlete is trying on. You can have scores that are competitive with them, and so you can see like I'm playing against an FC Barcelona player in this month's
Yeah,
challenge,
that'd be pretty cool.
and
Yeah.
I'm going to go beat them,
Yeah.
and having that kind of connection to the community. Like they're bringing in maps from like stadiums are brought in as environments. They're partnering with teams, and so they have like gear that you can buy, you can change to like FC Barcelona gloves or some other team's gloves, or a soccer ball, all these themed items. And then beyond that, they're actually, for each of their other challenge modes, they're having like topical prizes. So you win the reaction mode game that's supposed to be like a reaction speed boxing trainer. You can
Mm-hmm.
win a pair of like professional boxing gloves.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, cool.
Or you can, like in the soccer ones, you can win a game ball, or you can win a jersey for doing a recreation of a goal. So they'll recreate a
Oh,
famous
cool.
goal with actual like simulated players around the goal, and you have to recreate this goal for score. And if you get the high score that month, you win that team's game jersey.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Right, and
that's
stuff like
pretty
that is
cool.
really
Yeah,
cool. Where like
yeah,
those prizes aren't huge, but they're very personal. Like I
yeah,
am
for
the best
sure.
at this boxing game, so I got these golden boxing gloves as a prize.
What?
Like physical stuff is really cool. Yeah,
Yeah, I
Yeah,
freaking.
and
that
I'll
is
have to.
pretty cool.
You talking about the one you got to touch the buttons?
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
get.
So,
I might give you a run for money on that. I'm pretty
oh
freaking
no,
fast.
boxing gloves are mine. You can try. You can have them next month.
Have next month. Get
But
away.
yeah. So while we're talking about all these tournaments, yeah. So we talked about earlier, before the show, that I've started this project, probably 2-3 years ago, tracking all these events. It started
Hmm.
out with me, Mimixies, Axis Mund, some other people from like Team Gravity and V Respawn. We had a bunch of people that just loved to jump around and compete in whatever it was. And
Yeah.
so I forgot, we
Right.
called it like Cash Grabbers Anonymous. Was like the original Discord name, because it was just, we just like, the entire purpose was just to find tournaments no one was entering, or like new things like Space Junkies, where it was going to
Right.
be an ESL game right when it launched. And so you could go in and have 40 or 50 hours of experience and go to a LAN at like a professional level where they're doing full up casting with a $500,000 prize pool. And so that's what we did.
Oh,
It's like that was like
jeez.
the best cash grab ever. We put in
Yeah,
like
sounds like
the
it.
people that went to the finals to compete for up to 6 grand a piece had less than 100 hours in the game, because
Wow.
it was a launch promotion.
Yeah.
And so
Hmm.
the whole point was get as good as you can as fast as you can, find a teammate that shares your passion,
Uh huh.
and get good. And so that's what we did, and stuff like that. And those are a little more obvious and a little more well known. But
Hmm.
even stuff like Rezel, where it's a company that's just backing it with a lot of money.
Mhm.
um
For sure.
and so we started this tracking project, basically just me. When it started, I was just letting people know what I found, because I knew all the people in the VR space,
Yeah.
and so they would
Yeah.
tell me what they were finding, and I'd pass it on. And then it grew to kind of a more formal calendar with V Respawn, where I'd post like all the stuff on their calendar. V Respawn didn't really fold, like everyone kind of went their separate ways. They still work under the name V Respawn, but like that organization doesn't really work as a cohesive unit anymore.
Hmm.
And so I moved back to the Discord and had this big Discord that got kind of unwieldy because there was so much going on. I
Yeah.
mean, I had pages and pages of like, I was trying to capture, the event, the prize, the dates, who was hosting it, and at some point, like, I have a day job, like
Mhm.
Yeah.
I can't keep track of 500 Discords, um, and so I kind of found my way around to like where I could like selectively, mute these kind of servers, find people that would like feed me information.
Mhm.
And I got enough together that I was just like, okay, I have to go back to like a Google Calendar, because there's no other way to like to put this information together and have it be useful to anybody.
Yeah.
People can't read through 7 pages of stuff. I can't, make an announcement every time I find a new event.
Yeah.
It's just taking too much time. So I streamlined that. And then I was like, okay, I can do the same thing with leagues. And I will say a big F you to Rec Room for having 5,000 leagues. It's great for the community. It's terrible for me. I've already committed after this month. I'm not tracking those anymore. Rec Room has a great listing of all their sponsored leagues. They generally don't have cash prizes, which is part of the reason I'm not going to track them.
Mhm.
They
Hmm.
have cosmetics. It's more of a community centric thing. Big ones like the Val tournament, where they have a 5 grand cash prize. Sure, I'll blast that out to everyone I can.
Right.
But for people that are already in that community, Rec Room does a great job tracking it. But this all to say that, like, I got to this point where I had a Google spreadsheet of like 50 different leagues. I had this calendar that's tracking all sorts of stuff. I have all these stats. Um, Mimixies went and found that Defer from Blaston was putting all his
Oh
stuff
yeah.
Yeah, I know Defer.
into,
Yeah.
yeah, he was inputting all his stuff on esportsearnings.com, which gives it a little more formality. Like the big idea is trying to like legitimize VR esports.
Mhm.
It's not sitting at your computer. It's not standing in your room playing Beat Saber just spamming your wrist as fast as you can, which is
Yeah.
genuinely something that still stands apart from traditional esports. But that's kind of the perspective people get because that's the traditional media that people see on TikTok or on Oculus ads. They see Supernatural, they see Beat Saber, they see Echo Arena, but more legitimizing just the fact that it is a sport at its core. You're doing physical activities to get through that. And so Mimixies had decided that he was going to start tracking some of the old events he participated in. So we had this running list now of like prizes won by people in VR that's out there alongside the big names, the XQCs, the people that have won major Dota events, and so we have a
Yeah.
kind of a formal record of that building. And so I decided to put it all on this website that I'm working on,
Hmm.
which is actually live now. It's still super beta. It's vrsports.info if anyone wants to go take a peek at it while it's
Yeah,
still in
we'll add it to the
progress.
description as well.
Yeah. So I'll probably blast that out sometime next weekend. I'm probably not gonna have time to finish it this week. The mobile version is still absolutely atrocious. So my apologies to anyone that tries to look at that on their phone. Just got the domain yesterday, so it's actually up and out there. But yeah, so like homepage is talking about like it has some featured spots for people, has some links out to like articles about esports stuff. Then there's a page for leagues, a page for events that are more tournaments, like short-term stuff. Anything that's over a week, I typically consider a league,
Mhm.
even if it's not branding
Right.
itself that way, just because
Yeah.
it makes sense from a calendar perspective. Google Calendar doesn't play well with long-term stuff,
Yeah.
especially if you want to view it like in a schedule view. And then we have what I think is a first is an actual like leaderboard of both earnings of players, which comes from that esportsearnings.com site, and also
Hmm.
which games were providing those prizes. So it kind of gives a public record of who is out there winning the money and which games are actually fronting it, which games are saying we believe in this enough that we're going to front big time money. Uh,
Hmm.
and put that up there. And so right now it's super bare bones. Like we have I think 6 or 7 games, and we have all like probably 20 players from those games that are up there.
Mhm.
But you can actively just go like toss your name on there, or get with me in the Mixies, and we can add you to the list if you have a game that you played you want some money in. We're trying to work as fast as we can, but they have like one admin that processes all those,
Yeah.
so it'll probably take a couple weeks or a couple months to get all the history of VR up there as much as we can. We're not going to go too overboard, but anything it's special requested we'll certainly work on. And then at the very end, there's a directory of kind of all these different um, things that are tangential to esports, where we're talking like Asterion, people that provide headsets, people that provide accessories, ProTube, Mammoth,
Yeah.
things that people are less aware about, like OO Haptics or
Oh
Skinetic, where they're
yeah.
working on
Those are
like
cool.
like really high tech haptic stuff that isn't very publicly known because it's still in a demo phase, but still
Right.
things that like most people would want to know about if they knew it was a thing.
Yeah. Exactly.
Um, and so that I'm going to build a search functionality so you can kind of categorize what you're looking for. Um, and then another one that I haven't added yet, but I track in the Discord is like giveaways. So like a while back, you guys did some merch giveaways. There's always someone's giving away a headset somewhere
Mhm.
permanently. Like you can't go a week without someone trying to give away a Quest 2 somewhere. Um,
Okay.
and so stuff like that. And one of the things I'm trying to work towards, which I haven't really got anyone to buy in on yet, aside from Mixies, but trying to have like a donation based prize pool system where we're going to sell kind of advertisement spots on the site. So like the featured games or featured players or featured teams can buy, essentially super cheap advertising space. I'm talking like, 10, $20 a week maybe for your game. So just toss a couple bucks at it to get it up on the site. And then all that'll go into a prize pool that our group will pick some game that's a quality game, but something that doesn't necessarily get a lot of notoriety.
Yeah.
Even if it's something wacky, like say like Space Slurpees from Starcade Arcade, where it's
Oh yeah.
you're playing Snake in 3D space
I've
with other
played that.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that, where it's a good game, but it's just something that doesn't get a lot of notoriety, not traditionally thought of as a big competitive game, but something that would be fun that you could have a tournament for,
Yeah.
and that people aren't already super invested into where it would be prohibitive for new players.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to like either go halvesies with the devs or like take our prize pool and try to get them to contribute something,
Yeah.
and build what would essentially be a fun, community-driven, community-funded tournament that everyone has a shot at winning. And
Hmm.
I think people definitely would be interested in buying into that. I just haven't really tried to sell it on anyone yet.
Uh,
Um,
right here, this
Yeah.
this
yeah,
podcast, I'll give you 20
yeah,
bucks, put it up on that website.
yeah, for sure. So yeah, and that's kind of what I'm thinking, because it's like that sort of money to most people, especially for game devs, like Rezzle's, throwing $5,000 a month at it. Like that's a no-brainer
Yeah.
for them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and maybe we'll have some ads or something that are bigger feature spot for companies that want to run like corporate style ads.
Yeah.
But it'll all be for the purpose um, of doing that community based stuff. I might take some just for pay for hosting costs
Right.
to do that. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's the whole point of the site is to make people more aware of events going on, connect developers and hardware providers and utilities to players, and just let people know what's going on. Because the biggest issue is discovery, and that's
Mm-hmm.
right now I think
Hmm.
is the biggest barrier to legitimizing VR esports is not showing people it can be cool. It's getting people into the things to make them get hands on and realize it's cool.
Yeah.
Because like the dev from Arcadia, who's a startup in Canada that I've been talking to, working on like athletic VR experiences. Like their whole concept is people have the most fun in VR when they sweat. Like the part you
E.
enjoy about VR,
E.
it's yeah, it's debatable, but the core concept is like if you're being physical, you're doing things you can't do with traditional sports. Is
Yeah.
what
Right.
makes VR special. And games that don't implement that and don't lean into it enough, you don't have to like go super like heavy on it like Echo does, but the games that don't try to lean into that at all are the ones where it kind of feels like it falls short.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can play football outside. I don't want to go play a football sim unless I'm trying to train. If it's giving me analytics, okay, but that's not what the average consumer is looking for. Like I'm not trying to play ping pong in VR. Like there are definitely people like that are
What?
enthusiasts about
I
that.
love ping pong in VR.
But
You're talking to the ping pong guy.
I
Dude.
know I know people some people love it. That's what I'm saying is like those communities aren't the
It's funny.
ones that are going to go big at like in the grand
Right.
scheme. They're always going to have a great community of really tight knit people, and I know people love those games, but like those are the ones that they're not holding back esports, but they're the ones that people think of
Right.
when they think of, I'm gonna go play ping pong in VR. I'm gonna go play Beat Saber. It's the things that get the most that are most easily attachable to people
Mm-hmm.
that drive their opinion of what a VR esport is, as opposed to the ones that are really leveraging what makes VR special. Because
Right.
those are the ones that are typically harder to find, the ones that have a harder time holding people or accessing the community. Um, and I think even ones that holds small prizes like $50, like I know 100 people that would jump at a game that they think they could win $50 in if they thought
Exactly.
they could win,
Yeah.
or
True.
even
Yeah.
if it was just something they didn't have to put a lot of effort into if they could have fun with it.
Yeah.
Um, and
Like
giving
fishing.
devs that outlet, yeah, like VR, real VR fishing, yeah, just like if
That's true.
I, yeah, go get a game for $5-10, have some fun with it. It's worth your money. You're supporting the devs and giving devs that access to people, and also giving people that outlet to go say, like I want to go find an FPS to play in this weekend. Like what's got a competition? Okay, cool. We got 30 onward tournaments. We got a rookies tournament. We got a pros tournament. Like just having that resource that's never been out there before. It's been in some form or fashion in my Discord, but I've done a poor job keeping it up just because Discord's been so unwieldy. But at the end of the day, it's about legitimizing the VR esports and giving people
Yeah.
that way to connect.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that's why I always found you very interesting because like you were all about the VR stuff, and it's kind of amazing how much you're like in each community as well. Like I think you and Fatal XR might win, and who might have the most discords.
Oh,
Um,
I've already maxed out and added like an alt, so I think I might win. I'm at like 270 right now.
oh, that is nutty. Definitely
Yeah, so I,
crazy.
I have an entire alt that's just exclusively dedicated to getting tournament pings, um, which is kind of how I've like streamlined doing all that tournament stuff. It's just I have an alt I pop into. I only have like the announcement channels and all these different servers open, or like a tournament announcements channel, and so I just skim through those, import them into the spreadsheet,
Hmm.
and get that uploaded. But hopefully that stuff it connects the ends of the community better, because it's so hard to find some of these events. Like there was one that I won on side quest. It was Operation Serpens had an event to win a haptic vest from B Haptics, and it
Mm-hmm.
was just like the amount of effort I had to put in was almost disappointing. Like I only had one person really competing with me for it because
Oh
people
wow.
either didn't know it was coming,
Yeah.
or when they found it, they didn't know what they had to do,
Ah.
and they had no place to go to ask. And that's part of what I'm hoping to do with like the Discord part of this server is like you come from the community. Um, you come join the Discord community and you talk about the events. Like, you want support on, how do I get better at this? The same way, Echo has built entire servers dedicated to training people.
Yeah.
There's like, I want to build this community where it's people supporting each other in VR esports, not just like I'm going out to cash grab something, which there's absolutely always going to be opportunities for that. Someone is always giving away money somewhere. There's, it's going to continue to get more difficult, but like there was a tournament I was in the other day where they gave away $300 and same sort of thing. There were like three people competing for it.
Yeah.
There's always money to be won, and you just
Yeah.
have to know it's out there. And a lot of the time, it brings discovery of games that are actually really good and really fun for a lot of people that wouldn't have found them otherwise, which is the intent of the tournament. But a lot of devs just don't know what avenues to go. You post on Reddit, you get 3 upvotes, no one sees it.
Yeah.
Like I've seen so many. I've done my own post that way. Like I posted, hey, there's 10 grand this weekend for this game that for Rezzle you can go
One
win.
upvote.
Right, yeah, 1 upvote. I got like 100 views on it. I was like, I guess people don't like money. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, but it's having something persistent, or people can go either intentionally look for a tournament to try to compete in, look for a new game to compete in, or just see news about events
Mm-hmm.
because there's no other place that like exclusively covers or even focuses on VR esports. There's been some
No.
sites like I think it was vrsports.com was one for a while, and that group went dead. So that website's dead. VR Fitness Insider before Hasco got this job with AWE. She was writing about esports, but a lot of the other outlets for getting esports news and content have just died.
Yeah. And I know
Uh,
you mentioned something. I know that you were doing VR Trends magazine's esports section, correct?
mhm.
Or you were
Yeah,
one of the writers out of, or were you the only one doing it?
I think I was the only one writing esports. I think
Mm-hmm.
there were some other people that were interested, and when I was doing it, they were just like, "I'm gonna let Pesky have it."
Yeah, and I know, and I think we talked about this in just direct messages that, like just seeing someone just have a daily, not like a weekly or monthly blog of like a nice article about esports or just about like
Mhm.
just a game that's doing esports correctly. Like it doesn't have to be on an individual or a team. Just like even just like promoting it, just like hey, like this game right here has the fundamentals and the dynamics to actually create a really good league. Why is no one doing it? Something like
Right.
that to kind of push
Something like Grapple
direction.
Tournament. Yeah.
Exactly. Like do an article on Grapple Term, like look at
Right.
this
Just like
game,
why aren't people
dummies.
playing this? This
Yeah,
game is just so clean. Yeah.
exactly. Just poke people right in their freaking forehead, like hey.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like
So
that
yeah,
game definitely needs esports, and that really
I
bugs
think
me.
I've spread myself a little thin because it's like I've signed up for the blog for NEPA, the blog for the High School Heroes League. I was writing for VR Fitness Insider, for V Respawn, for VR Trade. At some
Sounds
point,
like
like
you need some
Yeah.
sleep.
yeah, I just need to, yeah, right. I need to consolidate like
Yeah.
where I'm putting my content. And I'm not sure if I do or don't want to put it on the VR sports.info site because I really want that to just be like a hub of events going on.
Mhm.
I think there may be other better places to put like blogs that are just musings about, like thoughts on esports and what's going on. There's definitely some space there, and I do have a blog section in there for like things that are relevant directly to the site.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't want to overload it because at the end of the day, like if I put too much content on there, then it's self-defeating. That
Yeah.
I'm
People are just
highlighting.
not gonna want to look at it because it's confusing.
Right. Yeah, I highlight, like 6 things on the front page right now. It's like I have like a featured or sponsored like league, tournament, and like community group person or something like this podcast could be in that slot, just a community creation or group.
Mhm.
And then I have like
Mhm.
the latest tournament that was announced, the latest league that was announced, and then like the latest big wins. Like right now I have like VRML finalists winning this past weekend on there. And that's what I'm trying to use kind of as my outlet instead of doing a blog because it's a lot harder to manage like print content on a regular basis if
Yeah.
I'm doing it by
Yeah.
myself. It's a lot easier for me to just highlight the things like we talked about, like with Grapple Tournament, or like I can instead of saying go play this game, it's great.
Mhm.
I can write a 1 sentence blurb, put them as the featured game, and encourage people to go check them out in a much
Mhm.
more subtle way.
Yeah.
manageable until I get some people helping me.
Yeah, I can see that because I think the only news people that are really out there is Upload VR.
I mean, so
Well, no, there's Road to VR
there's a
and
lot. There's
yeah,
Upload,
there
there's
is
Road
Road
to
to VR as
VR.
well. I have seen
There's
Road to
like
VR.
8 or 10 different blogs like Tony TV, Scarred Ghost, VR Reporter. There's a bunch of groups out there, and I've linked a lot of those on the site in that directory. But there's no one that's esports focused, and I think that's been the challenge. Is like there are a lot of people in VR that are esports focused. Their primary focus is doing competitive esports,
Mhm.
and there's no outlet for them that focuses on that. Like nobody from um, VR Focus or Upload VR really like tracks that stuff down because that's not their main user base. And they have a limited number of staff writers. So when big stuff like Rezel comes along, like I don't even think they've written about Rezel yet. It's the biggest VR competition
Yeah, I know.
in
When you told me
in the
about that,
last
I'm
two
just
years.
like, five
It's
grand a
five it's
month.
5 grand a month, and it's a solo based tournament. So
Yeah,
like the actual take home pay per person is bigger than anything VRML is doing.
exactly,
like
exactly.
like you
Because
could
their
play for
highest is
six
seven
months and
grand, but you got team
right.
of five.
Right. So you can go play in VRML for 6 months, come out with first place for an enormous amount of effort in a game you surely love,
Mm-hmm.
but at the end of the day, the prize I won last month for 20 hours of effort was worth more than your entire season. And that's not to diminish VRML because their total prices are still huge. It's just when you distribute it across a full team,
Yep.
like the concept
Yeah.
of take home money
I think they got
is a
what,
big
1,500
difference.
then? It was probably
Yeah.
1,500 within
Right.
six
Yeah.
months.
First place for EU. Yeah. For a couple months work plus a ton of training time. Whereas like with something like Wrestle, like your training time is your competition time. You're training as you play.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So what's NEPA doing for prize? Like I know that their players are getting paid, but is there an end of the
I don't
season?
think that
I
they
don't think.
receive any kind of stipend for winning currently. I'm not super privy to that information. They did tell me that last year they paid out 33 grand in salaries. Um, so there's a decent amount of money going to the players, only in the pro bracket. Um,
Right.
but yeah, but again, that's 33 grand split a lot of ways for a lot of effort, a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
So your actual salary comes
Two
out to
grand.
like,
It's 2 grand.
yeah, two grand. So which basically over the course of a
Then
season
that's
probably
the
comes out
highest
to
paid player.
minimum wage or less. Like for the
Yeah.
amount of effort you're actually putting in over a couple months, plus
Mm-hmm.
the land, plus whatever other support stuff you have to do for media. Um, so it's a salary, but again, like last month I won more in Rezel than those guys
But
made for playing an
but the
entire pro
thing
season.
is though, is that you're really good at a game, and it's not like they get paid this out as a contract. They get paid per game they're played. That's why they allow
Yeah.
the subs things to take people's money.
Mm.
But you got to think if you're one of the top players and you're only playing maybe a month in this season or at max 2 months right now until they get more in depth with the seasons, you're still getting paid $200 a game.
Oh yeah, it's still a good gig for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just yeah. I mean, my thing is always just perspective. Like
Oh yeah, for sure.
If you love Echo, like VRML, if you think you can make it to the top, because that's one thing that VRML is kind of struggling with right now, is that 99% of players will never see prize money in VRML. It's just how it is.
Right.
They're essentially taking, it's like if you took the entire swath of every college player in the US, like every D1 college player, and threw them in the same pool as the pros and
Mm-hmm.
said whoever makes it out wins. That's
Yep.
basically where they're at.
Yep.
They have 5,000 players and
All in the
50 get
same
money.
league. It's
Right,
like
all
they
in the
don't have
same
an
league.
A B, because if you look at it,
Right.
and if I used to talk about this all the time, is I used to go to the VRML and look at their standings, and if you look at the top, just say 5 to 10 teams, and I think there's only 10 teams in Masters League anyway. So if you look at the top 5 to 3, it's always the same people interchanging between each other. That
Right.
it's
And
always
they
the same.
establish their dominance, and it's so
Exactly.
hard to overtake them because it's something that it hasn't been around long enough that people are like getting big turnover, and the teams that do turn over a player or two have the clout to just pick up
Yep.
whoever they want from the other team. So they're trading players and bringing in new talent. But it's not like the NBA where you have a really large pool of established teams and players that are filling those spots. Echo's only been around 4 years, so you could still be an elite Echo player who's been there since day one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it is true. It's growing to the point where it's more like a professional environment where only the 1% will ever see money. Whereas a
Right.
lot of other places in VR, if you're willing to discover and try new games, and your goal is to make money out of it, there are a lot of other places where your shot is a lot better
Yeah.
at winning a prize you can resell or winning cash. And so part of that is understanding from a dev perspective, like what to give away, because that was one thing I was skeptical with Rezel, that the same thing, like Storming Dragon came up to me and was like, well, what are they trying to do with this $5,000? Like, what do you think it's going to get them? Like this could only be a bad thing for them if they're just throwing away money.
I'd be like,
But
I would have told him take the $5,000 and shut up. All right.
and that was my point. It's like that's the idea, is that they're just trying to get people to come play. Like, them in
Yeah.
particular is trying to get people to come play their game. And why does it matter? Like
Exactly. It
they're
shouldn't matter.
they're putting a bunch of money on the line
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reason. As long as it's not something like genuinely hostile, then yeah, come out, have fun, play the game, win some money. If you realize you're not enjoying it, or you're not in a position you're going to win money, you don't think you're willing to get there.
Yeah.
Okay, you spent $20 on the game, you got physical, you had some fun, you competed.
You sweated and you actually lost a little bit of calories from the donut you had today. Like, come on.
Right. You paid
Have some fun.
$20 for life to make you lose some calories.
Exactly. And then a potential of just finding out that you might be technically gifted at the game and you don't even know about it. Because if you don't give things chances, then, the chances aren't provided back to you. And that's what a lot of people miss. And it's just like, I get, they threw out a lot of money that would probably be like, is this a real thing? But you know what? Play the first month and talk to the person who won and be like, did you really get your money? Easy as that.
Yeah, and that's one thing I talk with devs occasionally about, is that so a common term for like professional work is the color of money. Like what is the money going towards? What is it from? What is the purpose of it? And throwing money at a game generally does not work. Like what Rezel's saying, and that's why Storming was skeptical. He's like, they're just throwing $5,000 into a void. And I agree, that's not the best way to do it. And they genuinely didn't care. Like, their whole point was they just want to do whatever they can to incentivize people to get physical, come check this game out, and be part of the community.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. If your goal is to just throw money at it till it works, it'll work, not well, but it'll get people interested. Like, it's got me on your show talking about how they have the biggest tournament series
exactly.
in essentially the history of VR since VR League was a thing. And so it's working in that regard. But there are better ways to spend it. Like, this happened with Zombieland. Zombieland had 4 cash prize spots when they worked with VRML, and I told them day one, like, expand the prize spots or contribute some of the money to giveaways, because they would have gotten more people to participate if they had given away one Quest 2 as a prize than if they had put 10 grand on the line for the elite players only. And it's understanding that color of money, where, like, if you want to get people engaged, don't throw money at it, because money will get people like me, where I'm going to come in and sweat my ass off and get good at the game for no reason other than to win your money, because I know I can, or at least I can have a shot, because I know how to enter new games and find the mechanics that give you the most points.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's kind of been my whole MO for the past like 3 years.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with taking part of the system that's allowing you to take advantage of. It's like, but not the only thing is that you're not only like trying to win these, but you're also aren't just being an asshole and like not talking about it. Like, you could you could literally go in there and play every month and win this $5,000 and not tell a goddamn soul. But you came to me, I posted it on Havoc's Discord. I got people in there playing it from there, and it's like, at least you're sharing the wealth of knowledge that you're like, hey, like, I'm not greedy. Go ahead and try and take my number one spot, because you also don't want to get bored or stop them from doing it, because if they don't see the growth, then you're going to lose a chance of winning $5,000 a month eventually.
Yeah, and part of the challenge is that, like, when you throw a bunch of money at a game, it's sometimes to engage the community, but more often than not, it's to engage new players. And generating new players or viewership with giving money in a game that's established is really hard, because it's really hard for a new player to get involved in any kind of game. Like, for me, for Zombieland, there were people that were really good at it, and like, I had to work my ass off in that one to get to a point where I was competitive in a span of like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And for other people that aren't willing to spend 80 hours over 3 or 4 weeks to get good at some new game, that they go in knowing they probably won't win.
Welcome to my life as Zenith.
Yeah. So, like, it's not an approachable model. But if you have something like, come set a score and you get entered in a raffle for a Quest 2, great. You're gonna get 100 new players that day, because the game costs $10. It's a fun game. More people are gonna buy your game for that $300 investment than 10 grand plus whatever they paid VRML, which is probably another 3 or 4, if I had to guess, for the kind of production they did.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like they probably spent 13, 14 grand for something that they could have accomplished with giving away $1,000 and a couple Quest 2s.
Yeah, I
And
know.
it's that kind of thing where at one point I was trying to work on some little booklet of like, best practices, like how to engage that user base. But because there's so much of that material out there for traditional esports, and as I said, I've spread myself so thin, like I focus on the things I had more control over.
Yeah.
But that is something I eventually want to circle back to and probably post on the site, is things like that where like so many people will click on a Gleam for a Quest 2. And if
Yep.
you just make,
I do.
the action that's, go submit a score in Zombieland and it's worth 1,000 entries. Like you will get so many people buying the game and playing it
Yeah.
and
Why has
probably
no one
staying
done
with it.
that? Why has no one done
It
that? That's a
I don't
brilliant
know. And
idea.
right, sign me up. Pay me to do it. I'll do it
Yeah.
tomorrow. Whoever wants Gleams run. And people like Val are finally starting to realize that, like Val was doing that before where they had these very low effort Gleams where it was all social media based, and then they realized that it's a much better way to engage people if you require them to do an action in game
Mm-hmm.
and just make that worth a bunch of points.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think by legalities, like you have to be able to enter it without any cost. But
Exactly.
you can
Yep.
do like, like this Twitter post for 2 entries,
Mm-hmm.
go submit this score for 100 entries, set a score above this threshold for 1,000 entries, and have it be something that's accessible to new players, but still a challenge where you're engaging the players, forcing them to play your game the same way that all those little like, $2 to download this app, like little like microtransaction games do. Um, where like you have to get to a certain point in the app to really have a shot at winning the big prize,
Yeah.
but you don't have to be elite to go make an effort. Whereas when you have these competitions that are giving away big prize pools, new players go in and like the first day they see it's on the high scores, they know they can't beat that score no matter how much they try, and they never come back.
Mm-hmm.
And it fails to achieve the basic purpose. And I think that's a big flaw in like the VRML system where there's not a hard cap on growth, but there's a hard cap on interest. At some point, you will have such a backlog of players that know they are never going to win a prize that they're not competing for prizes anymore. The people that are there are playing because they just genuinely enjoy playing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like if you told every college player that the NBA wasn't an option anymore. The NBA is saturated. It's like we're not going to take any more players. Like how many of them would continue playing? You'd have a
A
huge
lot of them.
exodus.
Yeah. A lot of them.
Right. And I think a lot of people are they're not getting that point. The people that are in VRML have overcome that and said I'm going to play despite that.
Mm-hmm.
But they're losing a lot of potential people from the fact that there's nothing to play for aside from rank points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really wish that, especially with Echo, that they would split divisions up. It's almost like if you look at Arc League, they
Yeah.
have their colored divisions, and obviously the Diamond division is the biggest division. But it would be nice to even see in there to have each one of them have a prize pool. You have one big bank that you collect over, say, a season of either your investments or people investing into you, or even your sponsorships. And then instead of saying all this money goes to Diamond League, says, hey, the majority of the money is going to go to Diamond League, and then we're going to go down. I think like the only league that probably shouldn't have is like the beginner league probably shouldn't have any money.
Yeah.
Just because those are people that probably haven't really deserved it yet. Or people at some point would just say, hey, why am I going for the hardest Diamond League when I can literally just shit on my scores, be pushed down to a league that I can dominate in, and just easily win that money. So there's things that you have to look out for that, but
Right. Yeah. And yeah, there's that tough balance. We just have this with the High School Heroes League where it's like if you have a lower division prize, you're effectively awarding, the seventh place team a first place prize, where
Yeah.
the sixth place team could have just thrown a match and won that themselves. And so it's a tough balance there. But yeah, but it's the same thing like with the quest giveaway. It gives a reason to play in the league beyond just passion. It gives them something to play for, because at the end of the day, like you get to the end of the season, there's no playoffs, there's no big match at the end. You played your last regular season match and you're over.
yeah,
90% of the teams just didn't make playoffs.
yeah, for sure.
All right. Well,
So
I'm gonna interrupt you guys because this episode's going for an hour and a half.
yeah.
We, if you want, I'll say it's up to you, Geralt, if we do what grinds your gears or not.
We can do it really
If not,
quickly.
Yeah.
all right, speed round of what grinds your gears. So, Pesky, what do you know what grinds your gears is?
I do not.
Okay, so basically throughout the week we kind of pick something, that's been bothering us and just rant about it for a
So
little
I'll
bit.
read one that came from because we have it on.
Oh, everyone in the Discord just roasted me.
They roasted you.
Yeah, it was it was let's see. He said beat him on said some dude named Jelk Mommy grinds my gears and TBG said saying bleep that guy, which is a alt name for me.
Well, at least read
Then
the one. But the funniest one that I found today was made by Junk, which is "Babies Don't Pay Taxes." I really
yes.
enjoyed that one. That one really enjoyed. That one tickled my funny bone today. So good job on that one. Um,
Yeah.
but the one thing that I'll say while you guys think of what grinds your gears is that I was drinking one night, and sometimes I like to explore like newer games when I've been drinking, just sitting there, especially a sit down game like like poker. Well, I finally played Cities VR, and I loaded into it, and I couldn't figure the goddamn game out, and so it pissed me off so much. I got so mad. I got so irritated because I'm like, why is this so hard? Because it's like having me click this button, and then finally drop it. I'm like, I can't figure this out. So I go refund and went to bed. That's how mad I was. I went to bed. Yeah, so that's what grind my gear from this week. Please make a game that is accessible for all drunk eligible men out there that want to sit down and play a fun game. Because I would just as soon like I don't even think that if I would have waited to the next day and played it like with with a clear mind, I still think I would not have understood it as well as I should. So
Mhm.
yeah, really. All right, next
All right,
person.
well, I'll go with my week. This week so I have this like annoying statue in my room, and or not today, yesterday I stubbed my pinky toe so hard that it bruised.
Oh,
So that's what grinds my gears this
Nice.
week is that stupid statue.
Finally
all right.
stubbed
So
a
my
toe.
my grind your gears is people that don't know how to manage Discord communities. This is brought to you by the Vive Arts server that just started up. So Vive has been leaning super hard in the whole NFT thing now.
Uh
Um,
huh.
so HTC started there's like Vive Arts, Vive Connect, which is their new like virtual space.
Right.
Um, and I swear that they took a bot and set its default behavior to ping the entire server every time that Vive or Vive Arts tweets.
Oh,
And
jeez.
Nice.
and I left the server. I was like, I'm leaving until the pings get stopped. They turned them off. I came back and they turned them back on. I got pinged like 7 times in one day for nothing but random tweets that didn't apply to anything.
Oh my God.
But it's just like there are certain rules you just don't break.
Yeah,
And
and
pinging the
Right.
server for like like especially Twitter content. Like if you want Twitter content, there's a notification button on Twitter that will give you a notification for every tweet. And
mm-hmm.
pinging an entire Discord server like 7 times a day is brutal.
Yeah, and that made
Yeah.
me think like I ping with Twitter stuff based off the role. I don't at
Yeah.
everyone every time but if you have
Oops.
population 1 clicked, I tweet people out with population 1 because sometimes a lot of people aren't a parent of that, or a lot of people don't even have Twitter. You can still read their stuff that's upcoming.
Yeah.
But at least I haven't got any complaints like that though. So maybe it's just because they're literally adding everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I think it's mainly just me. Like, there weren't a lot of other complaints in the server about it, but like, I got pinged 4 times in like 10 minutes for just a
Yeah.
string of Twitter posts, and I said, "Please
Yeah.
don't." And he's like,
Yeah.
"We'll fix it." They turned it off. It happened again. I left the server. They said they fixed it. I came back, and then it happened again. And I was like,
Oh
"Okay,
my
like,
God.
just turn off the pings for the bot, like
Yeah.
altogether. Like,
Just
if
stop it.
anyone here wants Twitter notifications, they'll go on Twitter and look at it."
Right.
Right.
It was just specifically Twitter because like that feature is already built in. If
Yeah.
someone wants that, if they want that content stream, it's already there.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Definitely get that, especially being like I had to leave the population 1 sweaty fight club Discord the other
Oh
day
yeah,
because I'm like, why am I being pinged for no goddamn reason? Like there was nothing even
yeah,
coming up. And I'm like, I'm sorry guys. Like I like a lot of you guys, but this is really annoying. I'm trying to work and I'm getting pinged for no reason. I even
yeah.
went through the notifications and turned off only when I get added, and I was still
Mhm.
getting pinged and was like, how is this happening?
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, out. I'm done.
Yeah.
But Yeah. So, anyways, like Pickle was saying, this is probably the longest one we've ever done. But
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's been a good one.
nothing wrong with it, because
definitely.
it was good back and forth, and that's what I really like, and I really appreciate you coming on, and especially what you're
Hmm.
doing for the esports community. That's I don't think anyone out there takes as much time as you do, and that's appreciated. As a esports organization, team owner, and then someone who wants uh, the future of esports for VR to be somewhere,
Mhm.
because if someone's not creating something, then why am I here too? Why am I creating a
Yeah.
team? But you have any last little things you want to say, that you want to uh, tell anybody,
Advertise or
advertise?
promote
Yeah,
as
I mean,
well.
yeah,
nothing much to close up with. I'm just super hyped to be finally, after 3 years, putting all this info on a site and having enough connections and people that want to support it was the biggest thing. Like, big shout out
Hmm.
to like Mimixies and
hmm
all the people I've worked with, that are finally willing to like come together around supporting esports as a general concept. Like you guys too, doing this podcast and doing other stuff. People are finally willing to like come together and support the community as a whole, as opposed to us all trying to cash grab and realizing that that's not something that's going to build the
yeah,
future.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, so hopefully the next couple weeks here, site will roll out in full force. We'll have some stuff up on esports earnings. It'll give devs a place to go to advertise. It'll
Cool.
give players a place to go to look for it. Esports earnings will hopefully kind of legitimize some stuff on the back end to show that, like, I've won real money as a player. I'm up there on the leaderboards with the all-time greats,
Yeah,
Hmm.
of both VR and like true like traditional esports, people that won millions of dollars.
yeah, that's
You're
cool.
just you're discoverable on the same directory.
hmm
So it should be cool. I think it'll be fun for everyone involved. It's definitely going to be a big time commitment to keep up with on my end, but
Yeah.
definitely willing to keep it cranking if it works out.
Oh
I
yeah.
think I think it's funny how on the website it says you're the 30-time random VR winner.
Yeah. So that's what I said. I play random VR tournaments. I mean, all
Yeah.
the time. I love discovering new games. It's kind of been my whole thing, and how I met all these people to get all this information to generate the site in the first place, building up
Hmm.
from a little Discord. It's just I jump around and play new stuff. I know where to look and how to look,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people just don't have the mindset to go look for esports. They
hmm
stumble on it right
No.
now, and this gives
Yeah.
people a way to actively participate in esports without having to put a lot of legwork in to
Yeah.
go find something they like.
Oh yeah, and there's a lot out there, and like for you,
Oh
like you
yeah,
said, there's 200 different discords, and so for you to do all the legwork, like you take a lot of off of like people
yeah,
like that own teams and stuff. So that's pretty cool. And all you if you just give me like a link to your Discord and then the website, I'll
mhm,
add it to the description, and then just let people know that it's in beta mode pretty much, but
yeah,
it's gonna come out pretty good. I was out there. It's I had nothing wrong with it at all. Obviously on the phone view, it was like kind of like bigger just because it was like, hey,
yeah.
I think it even told me like, hey, this is not made for a phone view right now. So I was like, all right, I'll get
Yeah,
it.
I put a couple disclaimers on there because a lot of stuff doesn't scale right. Wix kind of throws like all your content into a mobile view and just scales it sideways.
Yeah,
And I haven't looked at the editor for phones since like the first day I booted up the site.
yeah.
Just because like I figured the content matters. Most people are gonna be on desktop.
hmm
Once I get all the content on there and organized, I'll go back through and sort that out. Hopefully by next
Cool.
weekend or so, it'll be squared away and people will be able to
Yeah,
enjoy it.
and once it's ready to fully be launched and everything, I'll be posted on our Discord and everything. So
Yeah,
I'll be
appreciate it.
excited to use it. But
Yeah,
everyone, we will have who's on next Monday.
That is Dr. Bebop. He is the creator of the Risk of Rain flat screen to VR mod.
nice.
Yeah, so
Yeah, he's
That's a great
a
one.
cool dude.
that's gonna be a good one. It won't be live. It will be featured on Monday because we had to change around the schedule. But it will be
Yep.
still Monday, same time being published. So get ready for that.
Right.
All
We'll
right,
try to premiere it on then.
all right. See you all later.
It's been great chat
Yep.
with you guys.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's
Later.
fun.